This is a download from Rutland Radio.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the Rutland Radio podcast from rutlandradio.co.uk. This is where you can hear the best bits from the last week. Well, Carol, first off, thanks for coming to Barnsdale Gardens. Your first ever time here.
Very first. Here's Nick, he's just going to tell us off because we've jumped in his garden.
We're in one of the 4 gardens you're not allowed to be in, aren't we? But we thought we'd actually be protected from the elements. But you actually worked on Gardeners World at the same time as Jeff did.
No, I didn't.
Did you not?
No.
Your paths never quite crossed?
I passed cross, but I didn't work on the programme at the same time. He came and did a little piece in our garden for Gardeners World 1989, which was really encouraging, incredibly helpful. And then he came and saw us a few times at shows because we used to exhibit with our nursery. But I watched him along with millions and millions of other people. What they used to get, 9 million viewers or so at the very height.
9 million for the Cottage Garden series, over 9 million, yeah, massive amount.
Absolutely brilliant. And, you know, he's always been a huge influence for me and for most of those people, I should think.
And that's what we're marking here today, 20 years since his passing, but also the establishment of the trust as well that helps the next generation.
Oh, absolutely, and that's very important, and that helps promote young people into horticulture. We do our bit here with the apprenticeship scheme, but it's marking not just that, but also the fact that we've done an awful lot in 20 years from an incredibly solid foundation. And I think people are just about coming to realise that he was so far ahead of his time that the rest of them are just about catching up, which is really great, you know. But the garden is a work in progress, and it keeps rolling on and it keeps moving on, and we have our own ideas. And I'm sure that, you know, he might, if he was here today, come and say, why on earth have you put those two together in the winter border? But, you know, I like them together, so I put them together, you know, and that's the answer. And everybody's different, and that's the great thing about it.
How lovely was it to see, actually, you know, you talking last week on Gardeners World, and obviously seeing clips of your dad as well, you know, with Adam.
I live with the charity DVD every hour of every day, and I get odd people saying to me, isn't it not a bit odd to see your dad and listen to your dad? And I said, no, I find it comforting, I find it enjoyable, and as all children do, I don't listen to him, so why should I worry about it?
But I think, really, we can all remember, I can remember very vividly, lots and lots of the things that he did and the things he said. And I love the fact that in this garden now, thanks to Nick and all the people who are helping him, that those same ideas are not just carried on, but they're growing and enlarging and developing, you know, and that's what a garden should do and should be. It's just perfect.
Yeah, I think the thing that surprises me is that 20 years on is that, you know, I talk to lots of people obviously who come to the garden, and there are people who remember things that I'd long forgotten. All of these people who keep saying to you, you know, as you get old, your memory goes and whatever, it certainly doesn't, because they're remembering so much. And the great thing about that is that it must have had such a positive effect on them at the time. That's stuck in their mind, and that's really lovely to think that somebody can spend their time on this earth and have such a positive effect on so many millions of people. You know, people ask me about his legacy and they're talking about the garden, and I think the garden is a great addition to the legacy, but the legacy is how he touched so many millions of people in such a positive way.
It's that warmth and love that just oozed out of him, didn't it, really? You know, it was all encompassing, and it was just so encouraging. You know, you just felt, you listened to him and you thought, oh yeah, I can do that, you know, and what's more, I want to do it because it's so exciting and so worth doing.
And just standing here today, you know, we think of how the programme was, and I just remember a long barren field on half of the programme, and look at it.
Yeah, it's filled out quite dramatically, and we're a garden of two halves really. So initially 83 bought the original bit, had that ploughed. This bit we bought in late 89 and that we're standing in now, and developed that from a ploughed field. And it just goes to show that with a bit of effort, and it does take a little bit of effort, you can create magical things, absolutely magical things. And you know, I was just saying actually to somebody that horticulture is you know, it's not the best paid industry in the world, but I can tell you something, it ain't half the best, because I leap out of bed every day. Well, I say I leap out of bed, I'm at an age now where I roll out of bed, but I get out of bed every day, and I I can't wait to get here every single day of every single week, and that's what it does to you. That's what working with plants, with the earth, and that's how it makes you.
You must feel the same, Carol. You're nodding there.
Yes, I am, and I think it's something that everybody ought to be able to share. I think it's hugely important. I think the world would be a very, very much better place if everybody got the opportunity to do the same thing, because it's real, and it just, but it brings you back to your real roots, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
This is Rutland Radio.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Well, yes, as you say, the T20 getting underway, and I'm here with the manager of the Taverners side today, the one and only Peterborough United Director of Football, Barry Fry. Welcome to the Uppingham Cricket Ground. This isn't necessarily your sport, is it? But I have seen...
No, it's not. I don't know nothing about cricket, so I think they've got me here under false pretences. But there is football people who'll tell you, although I've been in the managerial role for 31 years, I don't know nothing about football either, so...
Well, you see, you've been around Peterborough United for a good long time
Yeah, I've been there over 20 years. It's just flew like that, and we've had lots of ups and downs, but I'm pleased to be here for the Lord Taverners today. Anything to do with charity, I'm glad to help out, wonderful facilities here. It's brilliant for the community and what have you. They did tell me that last year the game was a tie. So as manager of the Lord Taverners, I don't believe in ties. So I should be telling the team before, I only want winners! Winners! Winners out there!
You're gonna shout. Now, looking forward to your new season. Obviously, you're just kicking off Grant McCann's first full season in charge.
Yeah, brilliant. We've had 2 games. We've won 3-2 away from home. At Rochdale, always a difficult place to go. We've come from behind twice. We played at home the other day and we come from behind again. Scored 2 winning goals in the last minute of each game, and long may it continue. I think Grant's been in charge for about 6 games and we've scored 22 goals. So that's entertainment. So I hope the crowd come flying in their droves when we're at home on Saturday to Bradford, and indeed at home to Millwall next Tuesday. Grant deserves all the support he can get.
Barry Fry, thanks very much for joining us here in Uppingham today. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. The T20, of course, is going right the way through till about 8:30. Then there's the clay laser shooting that's going on. Do come down if you fancy it. £5 for adults, £2 for under 16s. Under 5s get in for free. It's all raising money for the Lord Taverners. Last year they managed £5,000. Let's hope they do something similar this year, or possibly even better.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio podcast.
I'm here with the other Weasley twin in terms of James actually played at Stanford School at the charity cricket game there. We're here with the Taverners, with Oliver Phelps. Thank you very much for joining us here at Rutland Radio.
Cool, yeah, hi, yeah, thanks for talking to me.
Well, no, absolute pleasure. I mean, the phenomenon of Harry Potter just continues, doesn't it? Particularly now that the West End musical has had such rave reviews as well.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible how you can think that we're 5 years after the final film came out and there's still so much to do with the films and the books and just the whole world of Harry Potter. Galvanises people's imagination, and there's still such a thirst for it everywhere.
And you still actually do roles together away from Harry Potter?
Yeah, we have done, both here and abroad, which is quite nice actually, because there's always a few people who want to see a twin role, I suppose, to say it, but we've been quite lucky that in the last few roles we've had, we've been able to say to them, well, we don't want them to dress identical. They're going to be similar anyway, so if we can make some difference with the characters, that's always helpful.
And what about sport? You play golf as well?
Yeah, golf. It's actually my first cricket game of the year, so that could excuse what could be about to come later on. But yeah, normally golf is the big one for me, and I just love sport in general, going to watch it and everything else.
And you do play for the Taverners generally?
No, actually, this is my debut for the Taverners.
Is it?
Yeah, I've played for the Bunburys a few times. Well, more than a few. So they're really my team. So it's just great to be able to play for the Taverners. I was speaking with a few of the guys at an event I went to before. So I would love to come down and play. And when asked to come and play here, I thought, yeah, fantastic. I was actually on Test Match Special the other week. And
I saw. Yes. You were giving it the whole event. I
was giving it a good
How
plug.
Good is that? Thanks.
Aggers was saying that this is his neck of the woods and talking me through all around here. So yeah, I was even more excited after that.
And where will he see you next?
So our next thing is going to be, we start filming it in America at the end of the month, and then that should be out certainly in American television by probably December, January time. So hopefully it'll make its way over here by this time next year. All being well for next year's cricket match.
So were you working behind the scenes on Harry Potter like James or not?
No, I saw the cool times for that and thought, no, I'd much rather stay in bed.
Because he almost did 2 jobs, didn't he?
He did, yeah. On the 6th movie, he decided to be a runner for the time, which was he really wanted to do it, really wanted to learn the ins and outs of it. But as I say, I prefer getting someone to make my own tea.
So he could actually be directing you in the future. How about that? Would that work?
I don't know. I find it pretty hard to take orders from him in the best of times. So maybe on a film set, it may be a bit difficult.
Thanks very much for joining us here in Uppingham. Good luck on your debut for the Taverners. Thanks for joining us here.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
It's Friday morning on Rutland Radio, and a Three Peaks challenge that involves around about 45 people is taking place to remember a young man from Ketton who passed away aged just 23 last September in Cambodia. His mum is with us this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Tell us about Matt.
Oh, he was an amazing young man, so full of life, so much to live for. He wanted to do the Three Peaks this year in memory of his granddad and his auntie, so there's even more joining us now. Altogether there'll be 55 at the top of Snowdon once we finish. Family coming from Australia, Norway. We've got a niece and her boyfriend, Alicia and Braynon, over in Canada. They're going to do Mount Yamnuska at the same time, so we're going to have such a lot of support, and we're so grateful for everybody's support. It's really helped us through this last devastating 10, 11 months. It's still a little bit surreal, to be quite honest.
I can absolutely imagine. So tell us what exactly happened to Matt, if you'd be able to. I know just even thinking about it must be so painful still.
Yeah, unfortunately there's not a lot of information around it. He'd messaged us a few hours before they were off to look for the secret lake in Cambodia. He'd really loved it out there, somewhere he'd wanted to go for a while and check out the history of the country, and he'd seen a lot, made so many good friends, but the only information we have is that there was a collision between 2 mopeds. He had a full head helmet. He was a careful rider. He'd not been out drinking or anything, so we don't really know. We're not sure, but the information that surrounds it has been very limited, so quite hard, but whatever information we get is not going to bring him back, really, so we just have to try and stay positive in his memory.
It makes an awful lot of sense to actually complete a huge adventure for such an adventurer, don't you think?
Yes, and he'd be really proud of everyone. He took on everything with gusto, and he really did love life. I think if we can complete this, if my knees make it, so we'll do him proud, do his memory proud as well, so because it was something he was really keen to do. Him and his girlfriend started Snowdon last year as a little practice, but unfortunately the weather made the better of it. They were determined they were going to do it this year, so we'll hopefully complete it in his memory. We will complete it in his memory.
I'm sure you will. I guess a lot of people around here listening to the radio this morning would have known Matt.
Oh gosh, yeah, he had quite a few friends. He was at university up at Lincoln. He worked at Waitrose for a couple of years. He worked at the local pub in the village, the Northwick, for nearly a year. He worked at the Christmas tree farm. You know, he was a big presence around, and he was a big personality. Love him.
Tell us about the charity that the 55 of you are raising for. Well, 3 charities, actually. Three for the Three Peaks.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Well, Matthew's going to do it in memory of my dad, his granddad and my sister for Diabetes UK and Mind. And we've added Cam Kids because although he didn't go out there with a charity or anything, him and a friend got a lot of joy actually out of helping orphan children to swim over there, and you could tell with his messages and what have you, got such a lot out of it. So we decided we'd find a charity over there that would benefit from the inspiration he's given us.
So it's the Three Peaks in 3 countries in 24 hours.
Yes.
And you start Saturday morning?
Well, Saturday afternoon and hopefully finish Sunday afternoon. There's 12 climbers for the 3 drivers, and then the rest are meeting us. They're doing Snowdon, so we'll have another 40 people meeting us at the top of Snowdon, so we'll get some good photographs at the top with everybody together with the charity T-shirts and Matthew's T-shirts on, so we'll do him proud, we will.
I know. Thank you so much for joining us on Rutland Radio and sharing all that with us. And
Thank you.
We'll be sharing your weekend as well, thinking of you tomorrow afternoon through to Sunday afternoon. And you're hoping to raise £2,300 or thereabouts for a very special reason.
It was just a figure that came into mind because he lived for 23 years, 9 months and 21 days. So.
And 11 months on, you'll be doing, this amazing adventure.
Yeah, for the day. And if anyone would like to donate, it's www.gofundme.com/Matthew Riley.
Jess Riley, thank you very much for joining us
Thank
on
you.
Rutland Radio. Big hugs from us here, and
Thank you.
have an amazing weekend.
Yeah, all right, lovely. Thank you ever so much.
This is Rutland Radio.
It's Blue and One Love before that, the new song from Snake Hips featuring Zayn. It's Rutland Radio, Friday lunchtime here at Burley House with our 6 weeks of summer. I'm here with the curator of Burley House, John Culverhouse, as seen on TV on Tuesday night. If you saw the big hours programme, unbelievable. I just didn't know quite how many rooms there were, how many secret passageways there were, how much it cost. Well, that's still being debated. Now, we're here by the Garden of Surprises. Now, this was actually inspired by William Cecil's other house. This wasn't the only house he had.
No, this, although it's large, this was the country house for his family and for his dynasty. He built another huge house nearer to London, nearer to the court, nearer to the Queen, and that was where he entertained, and that was where he had a Europe-famous garden. I mean, it was known all over Europe as the finest garden, which is the reason for the Garden of Surprises here.
Must be an absolutely fascinating job. I know you've been here for some years from Lady Victoria's time as house manager as well, but just looking at some of the archives, the Stanford Elections of the 1600s are actually in a drawer in there somewhere.
Yeah, they are, and right through to the intense political arguments of the 19th century, where Stanford was a really quite a difficult place. They had riots, they had people killed in affrays due to the elections and people being anti-Cecil and anti-this and anti-that. No, Stanford was a wonderful place. Have you heard about the Stanford bull running?
Oh, very much so, yes.
You know about the bull running.
Yeah, indeed. And is it true that actually Lord Burleigh of the time, as it were, didn't allow the railways to come through here, so actually Peterborough ended up with this huge rail hub? However, just look at how preserved this all is.
It's a commonly accepted story. In fact, Lord Exeter wasn't the primary opponent. It was two of his neighbours who really opposed it. The line would have gone right through their estates. He protected Stamford, and between the three of them, they did indeed stop the main line railway coming here, to the benefit that you see when you look around Stamford. Where are we? In about 1910, Stamford and Leicester were the same size.
That is incredible. It's 1910.
Yeah, and where would you rather live?
We love Leicester, but I know what you mean.
It's a good town.
Yes.
It's a city. It's a great city, but Stamford got left behind. That was the great thing.
As you say, there are advantages to that as well. So how is it that Burley House has survived in the form that it is now, where the family home has been passed through generations, how people are just enjoying, the benefits that Burley has?
It's been carefully stewarded and carefully looked after. I mean, right back to the Treasurer's time. There's a lovely phrase that talks about buildings like this, in that they were built for eternity. You didn't build for something that was going to fall down in 100 years. You built forever for your family and your dynasty, and your family looked after it, and they do. The family still live here. Miranda Rock and her family are still resident in the house. She's direct line descendant of the Treasurer, William Cecil. Fortunately, there's a family trust which administrates the house, and we all work for, and they make money enough to keep the house up from the estate, from people coming, from functions, from things we do, and from rents from the surrounding farmland and property. So, thankfully, it continues.
John Culverhouse, it's fascinating to just meet you just for a five minutes here. Thanks very much for joining us on Rutland Radio. And I know people can still see that programme, so they can actually see you, literally unearthing some of these amazing archives.
Sure, it's worth looking at. It's a very good programme. More for.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
Ed Sheeran at Rutland Radio, our 6 weeks of summer at Burley. I'm here with head gardener of Burley, John Burrows. Now, John, what a fantastic time it is for Burley at the moment. Having been on TV on Tuesday, as we were just saying, we learned so much about this house, which basically is like Lincolnshire's equivalent of the Buckingham Palace, isn't it?
Oh yes, I mean many people don't realise it's here. Especially a lot of people from Stanford have never visited Burley. It's such a nice place on the doorstep, and the history is always being found out. Again, with the programme the other night, we learn new things as new people come in to learn different areas of the gardens and also the estate as well.
And Capability Brown was kind of, the Chelsea Award winner of his time, basically.
He was, and literally last 2 years we've been doing a lot of work in the gardens to actually reclaim some of the areas actually he designed, and working on sort of telling people and having groups tours around the gardens to actually, tell people what the gardens are actually like at Brown's time, which has really gone down well this year as well.
And what about your team and maintenance and stuff? I mean, it's obviously far more than a full-time job just for you.
You have to love the job to do this. This time of year, obviously the school holidays, we have children sort of queuing up with their parents at 11 o'clock to enter the water garden, and it's just an enjoyable place for young and old, really. You don't have to be small. Adults can enjoy it as well, interactive water features, and as you can hear, the children are enjoying themselves now, so it's really good.
And the sculpture garden is relatively new, isn't it? I remember coming along to it.
Yeah, the sculpture garden was an addition that the estate wanted to put onto the house tour side to encourage people to enjoy a full day at Burley. So we have an exhibition running from March till November. This year's is Metallica, different sculptures around the outside, but at the end of the day it's the gardens actually form the background for the sculptures, and we try and make sure that they're in the right positions to actually for everybody to enjoy.
And as you say, the garden of surprises. I mean, children just, it's the biggest paddling pool in Stanford, isn't it?
It is, yes. Again, there's a lot of sort of the garden side as well for people to enjoy. The formality of sitting down, enjoying actually the gardens for what they are as well. And also, a lot of enjoyment watching the children enjoy themselves in the water. So it's a really nice place, yes.
John Burrows, thanks very much for joining us here at Burley today. We'll let you get back to it. You got a full day?
I've got a full day, yes. We've got a wedding in the gardens tomorrow, so it's a case of getting everything looking nice for the bride and groom and the guests. So, yes, full day.
This is Rutland Radio.
And here we are in Oakham. This train's obviously getting some more water just at the other end there.
Yes.
It's so long, it doesn't even fit on the platform here.
Yep. Yeah, it just shows you the length of it, doesn't it?
Whereabouts have you come from,
We've come from London, King's Cross. And we're heading to Chesterfield.
And is this a particular kind of pleasure train that you've booked on?
Basically, that's what it is. You could loosely describe it as a pleasure train. People interested in railways, for example, particularly with one of the steam locomotives on the front, it does get quite a following.
And isn't it one of the last to be built from scratch, a new steam train?
The last to be built, it's the most recently built one, yes, Tornado. I think it was commissioned in 2009, built at Darlington over a period of about 5 years.
And it's all going well so far?
And it is, yes.
You haven't got a diesel, have you either, I don't think?
Sorry?
You haven't got a diesel either. They're obviously expecting this to do all the work.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because the Flying Scotsman's been through and that had a diesel just in case.
Ah, well, that was Flying Scotsman. More likely to break down.
Yes.
No, I mean, I've been on many trips behind Tornado and it's behaved itself very well, except on one occasion when I think a brake hose between the engine and the tender had developed a leak and they had to replace it.
Well, have a lovely day. Thanks very much for talking to me here in Oakham today.
Yep. Oh, well.
And I don't know whether you know our signal box over there actually is the one that Hornby used.
Yes, we've been told that.
Yes.
Our guidebook has told us. It mentions Airfix. It was an Airfix kit.
The old model one, yes. And that's what they based it on. But lovely to share a bit of railway history with you this morning.
Right, you're very welcome.
Well, that's it for this week's Rutland Radio podcast. If you have any comments, you can email us via the website, rutlandradio.co.uk, and we'll have a new version on our website from Monday.
This is a download from Rutland Radio. For more information, go to rutlandradio.co.uk. This is a download from Rutland Radio.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the Rutland Radio podcast from rutlandradio.co.uk. This is where you can hear the best bits from the last week. So Sunday morning at Rutland Water, 500 swimmers tackled Swim Rutland. There were 2 courses, 2 kilometres and 4 kilometres between Whitwell and Normanton. I'm here with organiser Paul Cowling. Another good one for you?
Yeah, really good. Over the moon with how well it was supported, and it went really well on the day. The weather certainly helped that as well.
Is it all local people who do this, or they travel for miles?
No, there's people from all over the place. We've even had a couple of Australians in the ranks today. Yeah.
What about the kind of times that people achieve?
Some of them amazing. So there was about an hour for the 4K, and some people are swimming half an hour-ish for the 2K as well.
Obviously, there's a lot of buzz about the Olympics at the moment. Do you think it kind of actually does rub off in a small way on an event like this?
Yeah, I think so. Well, it must do. It can't do anything but, can it?
And looking forward to the Rutland Marathon as well, of course, in a few weeks.
We've got that, and we've also got our night swim as well in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, tell us about that. It's a first, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So we're going to chuck people in the creek at night, and they're going to swim around with glow sticks on, and we're going to have glow sticks on the boys, and it should be a lot of fun.
If you'd like to take part in it, you need to have obviously done open water swimming before, don't you?
Yeah, you don't have to be an expert at all. Like, none of our events are aimed at experts. They're meant to be fun and for anybody. We've got a short course with a night swim. It's only 500 metres, so if you fancy jumping in and experiencing it, then that's what that distance is there for.
And what date is that?
The 3rd of September.
And then a couple of weeks later for the Rutland Marathon running around.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. That's grown quite a lot. I think there's a couple of places still left for that. Not many, but yes, that's another one of our events.
And it's Rutland Marathon on the web, really, to find out all the info.
Yeah, if you Google it, that's where you'll find it, but it's just rutlandmarathon.co.uk.
And how are you feeling? Because last time we saw you, you just completed that endurance race, the Marathon des Sables, over in the Sahara Desert.
Yeah, I've done a couple of races and stuff from there. I'm quite tired from this event. It's been a few long days, but yeah, apart from that, I'm top notch. I'm fine, yeah.
This is Rutland Radio.
Well, Morgan, tell us firstly how this award came about. Well, this opportunity, really, more than the award.
Well, every year the Proms runs the Inspire competition, which is for young people from the ages of 12 to 18, and it's an open brief. You get to write anything you want up to the length of 5 minutes. And I've entered it for the past few years and was shortlisted last year. And so I thought, well, it seems my fortune's going up, so I thought I might as well enter it again and see how it happens. And yes, this year I was alerted after several missed calls by telephone. And yeah, they just said, well, your competition's one of the 6 selected winners. And I was very happy.
Now, you're a multi-instrumentalist at Oakham School. You know, we're speaking in All Saints Church after the chamber choir concert, which you sang as a tenor. You've played clarinet in here as well as one of the earlier concerts. Where do you see your musical ambition going there?
Well, I think more and more it's looking like composition is going to be the way to go. I mean, I've always known it's going to be music, but I didn't know quite how it was going to take shape. I started thinking, I was going to become a pianist, then I realised that required a lot of practice and something which I just don't really have the drive for. But I think with my instrumental lessons, what I'm able to do is I'm able to develop my technique, which then enabled me to write more comfortably for various things. So everything seems to be linking back to composition. It's looking more and more like that's the way it's going to be going.
So as far as the Proms competition, mid-August you'll actually be down in London, yes, with your piece being heard.
Yes, on my dad's birthday, which is going to be a nice present for him. Yeah, on the 15th of August at the BBC Broadcasting House, there's a special event where all 6 Inspire winners are going to be played by members of the Aurora Orchestra, conducted by Nicholas Cologne. And yeah, it's going to be very exciting. And then later on, part of the prize is that you get a BBC commission, and that as of yet is completely unconfirmed as to what that's going to take shape as. But yeah, it's going to be very exciting for the next few months to see how this will all develop.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
It's Rutland Radio at breakfast time. I'm Rob Pisani. Here's a date for your diary if you're a dog owner, or I suppose actually if you look after dogs and you're a dog walker. It's the Big Dog Walk, raising money for Macmillan Cancer Support, and there's also a mini Phaeton fundraiser as well. And it's taking place around Fineshade Woods and at Haringworth. And to tell us more about the Big Dog Walk, hosted by Boo's Walking School, is Boo's very own Chloe Fowler. Thank you very much for joining us today. So tell us about the actual dog walk itself. Whereabouts is it going and how long is it going to be?
Well, we'll be at Fineshade Woods. At Fineshade there are actually 2 walks. There's one I think that's about 3 miles long, and another one, I'm not sure how long it is, but I know it takes half an hour. So depending on the weather, if it's hot we'll do the smaller one, and if it's quite nice then it will be the longer one.
And dogs of all shapes and sizes?
Yeah, of all shapes and sizes. Yeah, all dogs are welcome, but family and children and even people without dogs can join as well. So.
And do you have to pre-register and let people know that, you know, you're going along?
No, not necessarily. There's a Facebook page, but just turn up where the meeting will be and that's it. We'll head off from there.
And how much is it actually to take part?
Just a donation, so it's not a certain amount. Just donate however much you want.
So you're kind of doing it in a way to get the dog walking community and dog owners together, I suppose?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And to raise money for Macmillan
yes.
too. Why Macmillan?
Well, Charlie herself has had a family member who's passed away of cancer. My partner's nan has got cancer, and I've actually had a few friends that have passed away myself. So
it is one of those charities, isn't it, really?
It is, yeah.
So after the dog walk itself, and basically you turn up at what sort of time?
About 2:00 at the village hall in Haringworth.
And the dog walks from 11.
The dog walks from 11 and
yes.
then over to Haringworth, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
So you sort of 2 sort of linked events.
Yeah.
And tell us about the Phaeton, the fundraiser that you're going to do at the Haringworth Village Hall.
We're having a mini Phaeton fundraiser. It's be lots of tea, cake, coffee, games, just donations everywhere. A tombola, a raffle. We've got some really great donations for people to win on the raffle, and it's just going to be just a big fundraiser to raise as much as we can for Macmillan.
And I suppose it's not exclusive to dog walkers and owners, the actual fete, is it?
No, everybody's welcome, whether you're a dog owner, not. You can bring your dogs, you can leave them once you've done the dog walk for them to have a little nap or whatever. But we just want to bring the local community together and raise as much as we possibly can.
So Chloe said there's a page on Facebook. How'd you get to that?
If you type in Boo's Walking School on Facebook, then you can go on the events page, and the event is called the Big Macmillan Dog Walk, and you can check what's going on there. We've got a list of all the donations and the raffles, and you can register as attending or interested and be notified about all the posts we're putting on and things like that.
Fabulous, and we'll keep people updated on Rutland Radio a bit nearer the time as well. This is all happening on the 18th of September, so the dog walk itself is at Fineshade Woods, meeting at Top Lodge, and then the mini Phaeton fundraiser at Haringworth Village Hall, same day, the 18th of September at 2 in the afternoon, and all raising money for Macmillan Cancer Support. And Chloe Fowler and also Charlie Pallett, thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio today.
Thanks very much.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio Podcast.
We're standing at probably the most famous place in Oakham, somewhere that so many people use, the Melton Road level crossing. The barriers come down, they stop, if all goes to plan. You know, the barriers come up 3 minutes later and off they go. But why are so many people getting caught?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. But a lot of it is driver error. And people just being in a rush to get from A to B. Unfortunately, it tends to be a lot of local people as well. So, you know, you would tend to think that they would be aware of the train times, using the crossing so regularly, but that doesn't appear to be the case.
Now, obviously, you've got all the freight trains as well that have that sort of unpredictability, but you know, just looking across here, we're on the Barleythorpe Road, Cold Overton Road side, and we're going down towards the garage, and you've got Station Road just there. The thing that I think causes the problems here, and at the moment it's very hard to tell because it's quite clear, but you've got the crossing. Say there's people crossing there, you get this bunch up of traffic, and basically people find themselves trapped over the grid.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there. I mean, you get somewhere in the region of about 1,200 vehicles an hour across this crossing. So, as you say, it is a very busy place.
1,200? That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's much higher than I would have thought.
Yeah, it's a lot of vehicles, and particularly, you know, we're in summer now, so you've got a lot of people, you know, coming to enjoy Oakham and the local area. But yeah, whether there is an engineering answer that can be found. That's something we're looking at, and we're going to be speaking to the local council and highways to see if there is something more that we can do.
Now, we just heard the sound of a lorry just going past there, but there was the case that was actually on, you know, even on the national newspaper websites, where there was that really long lorry, and basically it seemed as though it didn't even manage to make the first barrier across, but it was so long, basically the barriers got smashed to pieces. Now, that's an extreme case, but what you're talking about really is when people kind of chance it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, the amber light means exactly the same as the red light. It means stop. When people come up to the junctions of Station Road here and Cold Overton Road, what we're tending to find is when it is on the yellow, they are taking that risk and they're trying to go across, which obviously brings them into a red light as well. So it's a risk we advise them, you know, not to take. Please don't take those risks. You know, if the light's on amber, just please stop.
And ultimately, you know, they are dicing with death.
Yes, I mean, line speed here, 75 miles an hour. As you say, you know, extremely busy. Should you get caught on a crossing, sometimes if a train has actually cleared one section of track and it's into the next section, it's almost impossible to get that train stopped. So, you know, possible fatal collision, derailment, it'd be absolutely tragic, especially in a small town like this.
And the penalties are also there. You've got cameras here. You're actually watching people all the time.
Yes, we've got a network rail camera which is actually fixed to crossing. That's actually monitored all the time. Obviously, it's manned by the signaller, and we're using our temporary The AMPR van here this week, and specifically this week we're having a level crossing campaign at Oakham, just to target this particular crossing really, but it's to raise awareness right across the country, because there has been a rise in offences on level crossings, but it's just massively important to get people to comply with the lights. Read your highway code, revisit those things, and have a look at your own driving. I think that's something that everybody should do on a regular basis.
Now, we're just hearing the bell, so the alarm for the barriers coming down is not too far away. If people actually do violate this, it's a driver fine, it's points on your licence.
Yeah, there are various ways that we can deal with people. We can use driver awareness courses. They could actually receive a fixed penalty notice, 3 points, and obviously a fine on top of that. Or indeed, they could even find themselves in court. And some people on the totting up process have actually lost their licence for actually not complying with these lights.
This is Rutland Radio.
And we're here at the Oakham Melton Road level crossing. The barriers have just come down.
Yeah.
All these drivers waiting patiently, which is just how it should be.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think people sometimes see level crossings as a hindrance. I think people forget that actually what they're doing is they're keeping a community safe. They are essentially a piece of safety equipment. So we have instances where people try to go around the barriers, or we have in some locations children that like to swing off the barriers. They're a piece of equipment that need to be allowed to do their job to keep a community or whoever needs to use that crossing safe and away from a train that potentially in some locations could be doing 125 miles an hour with 400 tonnes behind it. So it's to keep people away from trains. It's not to cause a nuisance, like you say, the traffic that are waiting for the barriers to go up again.
But how long is it actually down for?
What will happen is the previous signaller or the track circuit, or we have something called treadles, will activate sometimes to let the signaller know or the control centre know that a train is on its way. So that's when what we call the sequence will start, and if there are barriers that they'll come down and the lights will go, and then as soon as it's safe and the trains pass the crossing, then the barriers will come up again. I think sometimes that Network Rail's fallen to sleep or someone's forgotten that they're all waiting. And
sometimes there's a big delay, isn't there? And you can't kind of understand why when you're sat in the traffic.
Yeah, well sometimes it can be that there is another train on its way and the barriers are staying down again to keep people safe for that second or third train even. But yeah, it's about the train making enough distance away from the crossing. We work in sections of railway, so it's about the train getting out of the section that's got the crossing in, basically.
So really the advice is to be patient and just heed the rules, amber lights even.
Yeah, I know people think that they make them late, but it's better to arrive late than not at all. It's not worth the risk to your safety.
Do you have any idea why there's just more offences than there was? I mean, it just seems more traffic on the road every day. Maybe that's it?
Yeah, perhaps, or like this morning, my sat-nav would have sent me over this crossing, and it's not a crossing that I would normally use. It's perhaps with technology, people are going places and directions and locations that they're not familiar with. You end up driving places that you don't know, and you get to a piece of equipment that you don't really know what it's doing. But yeah, I think at this location, they've said that it's more locals, but whether it's, again, technology again, so now we've got the CCTV camera, whereas before everything would have been human and done by eye. It's not that Big Brother is out to get you, but technology definitely helps everyone do their jobs a little bit better, doesn't it?
And as you say, maybe actually if sat-navs are still sending people through the high street and not using the bypass, we certainly noticed, an increase in traffic over the last couple of years. So
okay.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, perhaps that's it. I mean, obviously Google or whatever will send you the quickest direction, but if you don't know how to use a level crossing, then suddenly that direction sent you over something that you're not familiar with.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
Thank you, Rob. We're here with Ivan, who's actually going to open his results with us this morning. Now, these are A-level results?
Yeah, A2. So it's been 2 years of definitely hard work, I can tell you that. So,
what are you expecting to get?
BBC overall, and that's... If I get any higher, that'll be well over expectations.
Okay, you have the envelope. Take it away. Let's have a look.
Oh, can I just walk out with it? Is that okay?
Yeah. This is a real privilege for us because this is, obviously the one time in your life when this happens.
Yeah, and it might be the only time in my life when I get good results or results that may shock me. So. Oh, this is all gibberish to me already. So, C, B,
B,
and
art and
photography.
design, C.
So I think that just about enters me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's perfect.
Where are you off to?
Southampton Solent now. So yeah, quite a trek from Stanford by miles. It's a 3-hour journey. Not looking forward to it.
And you like to be a filmmaker ultimately?
Yeah, filmmaker, film producer, anything really. Anything that gets me into that top end of the industry will be perfect.
And New College Stanford has helped you actually get that far?
Yeah, so far. So now it's the next step, which will lead on to hopefully that brighter future that everybody looks for.
Fabulous. Congratulations from all of us at Rutland Radio. Thanks for sharing that with us. It's really special. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Rob. Well, previously we've been in the refectory. This time it's in the A-level block. We saw balloons as we came up the stairs. There's all the advice as you get to the top of the stairs. I'm here with Amber and Neve, who've actually picked up their results today. How's the summer been for you, actually waiting for this moment?
Nerve-wracking.
And how was it?
It was good. Very good.
What did you get?
A-star BB.
Which is pretty outstanding, isn't it, to be honest? And has that actually meant you can do exactly what you planned to do?
Yep, definitely.
What subjects did you do?
I did sociology, psychology and English.
And what are you off to do?
Criminology at Birmingham City University.
And how's your time been here?
It's been okay.
Good, excellent. And Neve, what about you?
Well, yeah, I got the good grades anyway to get into uni. Been a very stressful, long waiting summer to get the grades.
It is, isn't it? People forget that. Really
yeah, it's
do.
nerve-wracking taking your mind off it. But yeah, I got into my university to do the degree I want to, hopefully go into teaching at the end of it.
What were your marks and what subjects?
So 2 B's, a C and D and E, but that's more than enough I need.
That's quite a lot of A-levels to do,
5,
actually,
yeah,
isn't it?
5.
Was that the original plan, or did you just kind of get one as you went along? How's it work?
I didn't get the grades I wanted last year, so I got 3 Ds, and I thought, okay, I'll do 2 resits. And I did the resits, but one went to plan, one didn't. But, I thought take on 2 more A-levels, and universities might recognise that actually I'm trying to get the grades.
I did resits as well, so I totally get where you're coming from. More people do it than you think.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world if you don't get the grades. People say it probably is, but I know a lot of people who've gone through apprenticeships to get into university. And, I know law firms are doing apprenticeships now.
So there's so many different routes, really.
Yeah, I know from my GCSEs I was quite proud of them. AS wasn't proud of them, but I thought, I can do a resit, so I can try again. I did that and got the grades I wanted.
And how do you feel now?
Quite actually proud of myself, because I was going to pass quite a lot of them.
Neve, thank you very much for joining us on Rutland Radio at New College Stanford this morning for A-level results day.
Yes, with Georgia from Oakham, Rosie from Stanford, and Caitlin's also from Stanford. Good morning. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, now, Georgia, quick question. Have you been thinking about this all through the summer holidays, or did you only think about it like the last couple of days?
No, you think about it a lot. It's a big day.
And tell me, what were you expecting?
Well, I was predicted 3 A's.
And tell me which subjects you've taken.
Politics, history and economics.
Okay, here's the big question. How did you do?
I got 3 A's.
Well done, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Very well done. Caitlin, what were you looking forward to? What did you think you'd get?
Not what I got. I got higher than I was expecting.
Okay, so tell me what you got then in the end.
I got 2 A's and a B.
Okay, brilliant. Congratulations, well done.
Yep.
And Rosie, what about you? How did you do in the end?
I got 3 A stars and an A.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, congratulations. How are you celebrating tonight?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably go to the pub.
I think you'll think of something. And what does the future hold? What are you going to be doing later this year?
Go to university to do psychology.
And whereabouts again?
University of York, apparently.
Okay. Well, congratulations. Well done. What about the future for you, Caitlin?
University of Nottingham.
Okay, what are you doing there?
Media.
Okay, well, good luck with that. And Georgia?
I'm going to King's College London to study politics.
Okay, well, all the best. And thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
And here we are at Rutland Water on the taster day. Now, this is all coinciding with Dylan Fletcher's big day in the 49er. So tell us about the boat that he's actually in. We can see one actually that was on the water with a really tall sail.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So the 49er is a 2-person high-performance sailboat. It's been in the Olympics since Sydney, but over that time it's kind of developed as a class and to keep it at the sort of cutting edge of the sport. And it's a really physically demanding, high-paced style of sailing. Yeah.
And you've trained a lot with Dylan. Tell us your experiences of training here at Rutland Water.
I've sailed at Rutland a lot since I was a kid. I don't think I've actually sailed against Dylan at Rutland, but we've used Rutland as an inland training venue since I was really small. It's obviously seen as one of the premier inland venues in the UK, and obviously you get very shifty conditions, but it's actually a very good space of water to train in. So yeah, it was always one of my favourite inland venues to come to as a kid, yeah.
And what would you say to people who are watching the sailing? Because it's sometimes quite hard to work out who's in front, who's in the lead.
Yeah, it is quite difficult. In the last 4 years, we've seen some really good advancements in the technology being used to broadcast sailing, and I think that will only continue to move forward and make it easier to understand. But, you know, with a little bit of research about how boats sail and how they sail, the angles to the wind, it makes it a lot easier to understand the sport, yeah.
What an incredible Olympics it is.
It's been really inspiring watching it from the outside, you know, ourselves getting quite close to qualifying. All we really wanted from there was to see the team succeed, and they have done that and they've done more. It's just been, to be matching what we did in London with a home crowd was far better than we could ever have expected.
And tell us about your highlights so far in your career.
So I'm 23 years old. I've been campaigning the 49er since about 2010. I finished university 2 years ago, and since then I've been full-time sailing. We've had some really good results. I've had a bronze medal at a European Championships. I came fourth at the final British qualification regatta for the Olympic Games, and we were first Brit at that regatta. The selectors decided not to select me, and I understood those reasons, and I think they made a good decision to send Dylan Allen because they're really good sailors. And yeah, obviously from here we're looking to keep building up towards 2020 and to hopefully bring back a medal then.
And conditions actually in Rio, I know you've actually experienced them firsthand.
Yeah.
What are they like? Are they more challenging than, you know, other places such as here?
It is a really challenging place to sail. I still think that it benefits the best sailors. You know, the best sailors will be the ones that come out top, and I think we've seen that this week. But for sure, it is a lottery at times. And yeah, it's who can keep a level head. If you get a bit of bad luck, you know, who can let themselves get the good luck later in the regatta rather than kind of internally combusting. And it can be very difficult, especially in a high pressure situation like the Olympic Games, yeah.
So your time with Dylan training, that presumably was just as full-time as your full-time career now, was it?
Yeah, absolutely. We had 2 training blocks in Rio, each 12 days long, and it was a very intense period where basically the guys wanted to get some very specific things out of us. They used us to effectively select the equipment they were going to use for the Olympics, and they used us to sort of tune up and test themselves against a team that they knew was top 10 in the world and could push them. We hoped that we were useful to them, and we also gained a lot out of it personally, and that we were able to sort of see the build up to an Olympics and imagine us being there in 4 years' time. Yeah.
Even before the Olympics, it just seemed that a sport that was kind of made for this country.
Yeah, we've got a great heritage of sailing in the UK, and we also have more sailing clubs per metre of coastline than any other country in the world by quite some margin. And we have our network of reservoirs that allow people that live inland to sail, so we're in an incredibly strong position to be world leading at sailing. And we obviously finished the Sydney Olympics, the Athens Olympics and the Beijing Olympics as top country. On total number of medals we were still the top in London, but on golds Australia were ahead of us, and it's looking like we're going to go back to the top this time, which is awesome.
James Peters, thanks very much for joining us
on
Rutland Radio.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio podcast.
It's Rutland Radio at breakfast time. I'm Rob Pisani. Can I ask you a question? Have you ever been to Bird Fair? Do you know what Bird Fair really is? I have the man who knows everything about Bird Fair. He helped build Bird Fair, the very first one. And here we are nearly 30 years later. Tim Appleton, thanks very much for joining us.
Oh, Rob, it's a pleasure. And I mean, it's a pleasure to talk about Bird Fair because Bird Fair has done so much for conservation, not just in Britain, not just in Europe, but all over the world. And what's so exciting, I think, about Bird Fair is that it takes place in Rutland, in the country's smallest county, and yet in a few days' time, there will be people from all over the world literally on their way to Rutland to take part. Last year, we had 75 different countries represented at the Bird Fair. So, you know, you'll see as you walk through town on the Friday night and the Saturday night, it becomes a multinational town. And that in itself is so exciting. And bear in mind, of course, that, you know, these people have got to stay somewhere. They've got to have bed and breakfast. So it's probably bringing in £750,000 into our local economy. So it's not just benefiting wildlife, it's benefiting local people as well.
Now, if you fancy coming along, you can buy tickets on the day, and all that money goes to help your big conservation project.
It does, yeah. Each year we support a different project. I was so proud to announce this year that last year's project we raised a record £320,000 in the 3 days at this one event. So it really has become a major donor, cash donor for conservation. And this year it's really exciting because we decided how can we sort of really look at the future, how can we sort of help young people. And we're going to work in a forest in Madagascar, but also train young Africans throughout the whole of Africa about woodland conservation management. And these are going to be the people that will make the decisions, we hope, in 10, 20, 30 years' time. They're going to be at the top of their league, they're going to be in government, they could be wherever. But they will have that wonderful background. And Bird Fair and BirdLife International are launching this new campaign this year. And we will give at least £100,000 of this year's monies towards the future. So, it's a really exciting venture.
Now, this isn't bucket shaking as you go through the door. It's very much you pay your entrance. That's the big contribution, as well as obviously the various stalls as well who help raise that money.
Yeah, exactly. It's £15 per adult. And in fact, if you're quick enough and people get the message, then you can get a discounted ticket online. But that is £15, of which every single penny of that will go to conservation. So if you like, you're making a major contribution towards. And then everything's free. All the events are free. Chris Packham's there, Simon King's there, Nigel Marvin's coming back for the first time for a little while, Nick Baker, who a lot of people will know, and we're delighted that Jess French is coming for the first time. There's a host of people. They give all their time free to come up and support Bird Fair. There's over 188 different lectures, only 20 minutes, so you're not sitting down for hours. And then this year, for the first time, we're introducing 2 major films. The Messenger, which is having its second ever UK showing, won all sorts of amazing awards, and The Poached, another amazing film. And those will take place on the Friday night and the Saturday night, along with other events as well. Chris Packham will be with some of the leading exponents on Rewilding Britain. This is where we want eventually to bring back animals that have become extinct for whatever reason. We need lynx. They're not going to grab children, as some of the crazy papers tell them, out of their prams. These are animals that are very secretive, the top predator. So we're going to talk about rewilding on Friday night. There's only a few tickets left for that. And then on Saturday night, we're having a return of 3 internationally renowned musicians. That's Craig Ogden, Gary Ryan and Milos Milosevic, the accordionist. I mean, they are normally in Carnegie Hall, Albert Hall, and they're going to be in Rutland. And for a mere £15, Rutland is going to host the top musicians you could ever imagine. So please, if you're local and you love music and you love top music, then that's going to be on Saturday night at 7:30 in the Events Marquee.
So effectively, you pay your money, you head in, and you've got a window on the way that the wildlife world works throughout the world.
Exactly. I mean, there are over 500 different exhibitors. These are people that might be selling anything from a safari to Africa, a boating trip around Papua New Guinea, or it might be someone selling you a wonderful trip to Argentina, the wilds of Alaska. Or it might be someone locally, an artist. Mr. Baines is there with his amazing range of second-hand wildlife books. We've got the local food produce store, which was really successful last year. And then you've got people selling bird seed, bird videos, bird books, clothing, outdoor clothing. So, it's an outdoor event with a wildlife theme throughout. We call it Bird Fair, but there's the bat group there, the badger group, the bug group, the butterfly group. There's everything for everybody. And it's lots of children's activities as well. So please come along. It's such a wonderful event, and you will be supporting nature throughout Britain, Europe and the world.
And there are still people listening to this who think, right, okay, so I head down to Eggleton. It's a little bit of an event. I'll see some birds in cages, this breed that's been flown in for miles. It's the complete opposite of that.
Totally.
It's enormous, it's international, and it's about people, passionate people.
Yeah, I mean, certainly you'll never find a bird in a cage. And I think 1 or 2 people have in the past turned up thinking, it was a caged bird show. Far from it. We're talking about nature in its raw, nature in the wild. The lectures range from lectures about Ecuador, Argentina, Russia, wherever. So there's lots of activities, as well as, of course, a lot of our sponsors come from Scotland. So there's some great information if you want to have a Scottish wildlife experience. There's 8 massive marquees full of exhibitors. And one of the most exciting exciting one, number 9, of course, is the art marquee. You've got wildlife artists coming from all over the world who will create their wonderful images in their own stands, but also helping the wonderful mural. This is a massive, great 16 feet long mural that will be painted by probably 50 different artists, with a single bird here or a butterfly there or a lemur. Obviously it's Madagascar. And that will find its way into Madagascar, near the forest. It'll go into an information centre there. So we're taking a little bit of Rutland into the forest of Madagascar. It's so exciting.
I know how passionate you are about it, completely understandably, but what do you feel, all the weeks of planning, the marquees have been up for weeks, you actually walk in for that first time on Friday morning and just see it come alive?
It's very emotional, to be honest with you, Rob, because, you know the effort and the expense a lot of these small companies have had to go through to get to Rutland. If they have flown in from New Zealand, which a lot will do, from Australia, from South America, they've made that decision to come to our county to help promote their wildlife. So, I'm, as people know, totally passionate about wildlife. And, when I see the family atmosphere Bird Fair has created, I think that will be shown and felt by visitors, whether you're from Rutland or from Leicestershire or Nottinghamshire or Northamptonshire, wherever. Come along, just experience it. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at the size, for a start. You'll think it's just 2 or 3 tents. If you think the Rutland show's big, come along to Bird Fair. It's great to work with the guys in Rutland, but, it really is. It's such an international feel about it, and I'm sure you'll see this in the town. We're trying to get a pub and someone's trying to speak in either Chinese or Japanese or whatever language. Buy them a drink if you see them in town, or tell them how to get to the fair down at Eggleton, which opens every day at 9 o'clock and closes around about 5:30. But of course, with the evening events, you can come in later anyway.
So that's £15 for an adult ticket. It's from Friday the 19th of August to Sunday the 21st. And I know that children can also get in for free as part of that.
Absolutely, yeah, free, and students get in for £6 and with a student rail card. And the student can be 105 as far as I'm concerned. If they've got a student rail card, come along, because, we obviously want everyone to come along, particularly for families. We want to make sure the kids can come in free, and that's so critical because, maybe those kids will be the next David Attenborough.
That's birdfair.org.uk to find out all the information. And Tim Appleton, thanks very much for joining us on Rutland Radio. We look forward to seeing you there on opening day.
Pleasure, Rob. Thank you very much.
This is Rutland Radio.
Well, here we are at Bird Fair, and Chris Packham is back with us. You must have been here for so many years, actually. And literally, you've flown here yourself here to be here today. You're hosting all sorts of things.
Yeah, I come from Orkney this morning. I woke up in Kirkwall in Orkney at 5 o'clock. And so I've just rocked up in the rain, and it's great to be back. Bird Fair has become a magnificent institution. Great place for the whole birding community to come together, share ideas, get things done, and do a bit of shopping, think about fantastic holidays we might go on, and to catch up with people we haven't seen for 364 days. So yeah, pleasure to be back, and I'm always a very keen supporter.
Now, you're hosting Rewilding Britain. I suppose it's never been more topical, really, to put the environment back.
No, we face all sorts of problems in conservation, and most emphatically that it's not working. It's that simple. There's a huge number of people here looking out over the RSPB and other charities who have worked tremendously hard over the last hundreds of years with the RSPB. But the simple fact is that our habitats and our species are in a worse state than they've ever been. So we need to think about introducing new ideas, and quickly. And one of those ideas is rewilding, and it's something that therefore we should be investigating as rapidly as possible. And what I hope the session will achieve is to lay to rest some of the myths about rewilding. It isn't all about bringing wolves back. It's much more fundamental than that. You can't put in the top of the food chain predator if you haven't got the bottom of the food chain functional. And at the moment in most parts of the UK, it's non-functional and in decline.
Now, you've put your head further above the parapet and then even the RSPB with the latest campaign that you're very passionate about.
Yeah, we are sick and tired of our raptors being trapped, poisoned and shot. And as a consequence of that, we've focused upon hen harriers on driven grouse moors, where the situation is possibly worse than anywhere else. Just this week, a satellite tag hen harrier that fledged the nest in early July has lasted just about a month before it disappeared mysteriously on a grouse moor. Well, disappeared mysteriously is what the RSPB might say, but I can tell you exactly what happened to that bird. It was shot, trapped or poisoned, and we're sick of it. And so we want to see radical reforms to that part of the shooting fraternity. Not all of it, we're not anti-shooting. We just think that the driven grouse shooting fraternity are not acting properly, and not just in terms of the birds of prey which are persecuted, but the burning and draining and general damage to that environment. And it's something that needs to, see some public attention, which is what the petition's been about. And now we'll see a parliamentary debate, and again, more and more people will begin to understand the issues, and hopefully we can begin to rectify them.
On the lighter side of things, we've seen you many times on TV with Spring Watch, showing people wildlife developing, growing, week by week, and it's compulsive viewing for millions of people.
Yeah, it still hits the nerve that we all like to tingle, and that's, I think, because it's very much about the wildlife that's in our back garden, whether it is literally our back garden or just over the fence or in the UK. It's species that we're familiar with, and using the technology that we have, we're able to show people things which they can't see for themselves, and our objective, or mine certainly, is to throw some light on that in a scientific way. So we always try and keep it fresh with lots of new information, not trotting out the same old stories. And the live aspect of it is challenging to produce, and I hope entertaining to watch, and it seems to go from strength to strength. We had a very good season this year at Minsmere.
Chris Packham, delighted to have you back here in Rutland. Thanks very much for supporting Bird Fair yet again.
It's a pleasure to be back, I assure you.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
So many firsts at Bird Fair now, 20 years of the Rutland Osprey project.
Yep.
And actually there is a book that comes out literally for the Bird Fair, which children can find out so much about this amazing project. It's all been about the children, hasn't it, Ken Davis?
Yep, it has. This is the third book we've done, and this is a more substantial novel for older children and adults, we hope, telling the story of Ozzy the Osprey, who makes his way down to Africa, where he's studied by a group of African children after leaving Rutland Water for his migration. So it's literally published today, hot off the press, written by me, but with wonderful pictures by a new artist for us called Fiona Gomez. And it's on sale on our stand at the Bird Fair and also in our reserves, of course. So we're hoping it'll do really well. And we have to thank the Martin Lawrence Memorial Trust and the LRWT, Leicester and Rutland Wildlife Trust, who've sponsored it for us.
It's an amazing magical journey, isn't it? It amazes adults as well as children, doesn't
Absolutely.
it? The fact that all these ospreys are here at the moment. They're starting to migrate. They go to Senegal. They come back next year.
Exactly, and they've already started to go, as people might already know. On Monday, we think one of the young ones left, just 12 weeks, 3 months old, and she's on her way, just guided by her inbuilt sat-nav, if you like, and hopefully she'll get down to either southern Spain or Africa, and where she'll stay for 18 months, 2 years, and then come back again. And their brothers and sisters are still here, and when the weather clears up a bit, they'll be on their way as well. So it is a wonderful story, and this book tells you all the adventures they have, all based on real-life incidents in our Ospreys story over the last 20 years. And the nice thing about this book is that all members of the Osprey team have got a part to play. So they're all featured in the book, but they'll be described in a way you may not have seen before. So buy the book and you'll see what I mean.
That's Ozzy Leads the Way. It's £8. It's on sale here at Bird Fair and also from the Linden and Eggleton reserves as well.
Absolutely. A snip at £8.
Ken Davis, lovely to see you here at Bird Fair, celebrating obviously the 20 years of the Osprey Project, the 28th Bird Fair, the 60 years of the Leicestershire and Rutland Wildlife Trust, the 78 nations who are here. This is the most unbelievable event, isn't it?
It is, absolutely, and this is the place really to meet all old friends. I've met friends from Gambia already who we saw when we were down there in January, and people from all over UK, other Osprey centres in Wales and Scotland and the Lake District. They're all here.
And you take that message, don't you? You personally take that message to those who are interested.
Exactly, yeah. And we're hoping that, by means of interviews like this and by coverage in the press, we can get the message across to more and more people.
So people can still actually, as well as coming down to Bird Fair this weekend, they can still see the ospreys.
Oh, yeah. We've been telling people all day, go round to Manton Bay when you've finished here. It's only a couple of miles away. And there's at least, when I heard this morning at 8:30, there's 4 ospreys there, 2 adults and 2 chicks, really getting ready to go now. So you've got 3 or 4 days and then they'll be gone.
Well, that's it for this week's Rutland Radio podcast. If you have any comments, you can email us via the website, rutlandradio.co.uk, and we'll have a new version on our website from Monday.
This is a download from Rutland Radio. For more information, go to rutlandradio.co.uk.